we broke down this demo into three things today. We'll cover some part of the capture world. We will look at how with Fivetran, dbt, Snowflake, how do we bring the technical metadata, business metadata, some of it on Atlan. And then we will talk about two metadata activation use cases. We will look at data lineage, and today we look at metric exploration. So this is how we'll break down. Let's get started with the capture part of the process, and how do we make it brain dead easy to bring a lot of the metadata that I talked about today. So first, to begin with, you should be able to see the Atlan workspace. And we will just go to the our metadata marketplace, which has direct connectors and packages for you to bring the metadata from your favorite tools. So let's start from Snowflake. Obviously, we've curated the instances. So just like you can set this up, it's completely DIY. Bring your credentials in, test some of those credentials. If you want to know what metadata do we bring in from Snowflake, there are rich docs available. You can look at them, and we can bring in all the technical, because all the metadata that Vikas talked about, we'll be able to bring that into Atlan. Similarly, if you are a Fivetran user and you're using that to bring the metadata, and you've enabled the Fivetran API, all you need to do is two-step process. Just get the API key from your console and the API secret, and we'll be able to bring operational metadata, create cross-source lineage, and bring all the technical and operational metadata into Atlan. And similarly, if we also have native support for dbt, and we support both the implementation. So in case you're a dbt core customer as well, you've implemented dbt core or you've implemented dbt cloud, you can bring all those in. We are semantic layer ready as well, which is what Cameron talked about, which means if you have started adopting dbt metrics, you'll be able to see first-class experience on Atlan with dbt metrics. Now, so we brought in all the technical metadata into the system. Now, a lot of our customers reach out saying, but how do I keep this metadata refreshed, updated, right? And so one trend we're seeing in the metadata world is it's similar to what happened in the world of security, where security moved towards left. What that meant is while engineers were coding, security moved closer to GitHub, the source version control, vulnerability management, all of those moved closer to where engineers were writing code. Similarly, this happened in the world of DevOps and cloud as well, where you move everything closer to where the infrastructure was getting created. Similarly, we are sharing a lot of best practices with customers to actually push a lot of this metadata closer to the source. So if you're a dbt customer, we leverage, you can actually update the certification, the owners, all of this in your dbt model. You don't need to leverage the API. While you're creating the model as an analytics engineer, you can actually bring all the governance metadata into Atlan. So that's one paradigm. Similarly, if you're using Snowflake tags, again, we can bring some of those Snowflake tags as we build deeper integration with Snowflake going forward. Now, once you bring that in, once everything is set up, this is what you feel like. You get a whole discovery. I think somebody mentioned on chat inventory. So you get a list of all the assets across all your sources available right on Atlan. You can get to see the technical metadata that we brought in from Snowflake. We brought in the materialization metadata. What models was this materialized from? You can see the raw SQL. When this was dbt cloud last run, you can get to see the operational metadata. You can get to see owners, classification, certification, and you can bring everything in. Now, in our learnings with data teams, we still realize there's a lot of tribal knowledge that exists in minds of people. But how do we bring that on Atlan? So we took one step forward and we went to everybody's favorite tool, which is spreadsheet. So let me jump on this moment. Let me jump to a spreadsheet, which is a Google Sheet. So Atlan has a native extension with Google Sheets where you can capture tribal knowledge, collaborate, let folks who are working on maybe want to bring descriptions of they have a data dictionary or they have an existing CSV where they have documented everything, bring them quickly. So I'm just going to click the extension, Atlan extension, and give it a command to document metadata. And let's select an asset first. As soon as I selected that, you saw the Atlan interface is just opening up where you will see similarly, you will see all the assets that you saw on the Atlan workspace, you will start seeing it on Google Sheets workspace. Now, let's select this big verified asset. Let's import that. As you see, the imports are happening. We're bringing existing metadata from Atlan to your Google Sheets. Now, all the metadata is right here. Now, you're like, hey, I think I know this 6-digit reference. And I'm going to just, for the sake of demo, I'm just going to mark this as a verified column. And obviously, I can share this with my colleagues, people who know, and collaborate this in the tools that they really like. Once I'm ready, all I need to do is let's sync this to Atlan. And this is, again, our effort. We realized, like I said, diversity in data tools. Data teams love using the tools of their choice. How do we make it easy? Bring to them. So it looks like the documentation is synced. Let me just open up the asset. It opens up an asset 360 profile. This is similar to what a Salesforce account profile looks like, what a GitHub profile looks like. You can see the description got updated. I'm also seeing some suggestions from Atlan saying that, hey, this is the description that Atlan suggests. Let me just accept a few. So this looks like tax paid in dollars, accepted, the enrichment done. Right now, maybe let's open up an asset. Now, beyond, so we brought in technical metadata, we brought in the tribal knowledge that exists in orgs via collaborative spreadsheet. Now, the other metadata that you see is your profiling metadata. So this could be, let's maybe look at a column. This could be tax paid. What are the distinct values? What's the minimum? What's the maximum? What's the variance? So if you have existing profiling metrics, you can start pushing it to them. And at Atlan also, we are also soon opening up native profiling, where you can actually, in our metadata marketplace, you can bring profiling metadata on Atlan as well. Now, technical metadata, check. Operational metadata, check. Tribal knowledge, check. Profiling, quality metadata, check. But still, there is a ton of knowledge that exists in orgs. One of the things, if you remember the chart that we talked about, was documents and URLs that exist. So let me open one document, and this is just a demo document. Maybe this is a glossary or an internal Confluence link you have internally. You are on that page and you quickly want to document this. Because if you go to Confluence, you don't know what data asset this is the documentation for. And if you go to Atlan, you don't know what documentation it's linked to. So how we bridge the gap is via a browser native integration. So not only we bring Atlan to Google Sheets, we bring it to your favorite browser. So as soon as I open Atlan, this Atlan icon, I can start seeing the same asset list right here on my browser. If you can see there's already a title, I can just click fact orders and let's do a quick save. Again, just with a click of a button, the Confluence doc, the Salesforce doc, or any of your Word docs are available in the resource sections. So now if you go to resource, you will get to see, hey, this was just added by Varun Banka a few seconds ago. So this is about how do you bring documentation, your URLs, to create that knowledge, create that Asset 360 profile. Now, if you folks remember, we also talked about metadata on Slack. And I'm sure a lot of you will relate to this. There's a ton of conversation that happens on things like Slack, and you want to capture some important threads. So I'm going to just switch to a demo Slack workspace. You'll be able to see a demo Slack workspace with a bunch of channels and a data gurus channel, which seems like a lot of questions get asked here. So I'm just going to click this 3 button, and you will see a command saying send to Atlan. As soon as you click this, it will open up. You can give a title saying that location thread for discussion. I can select the asset which I want to tag this to, because this is an important thread for this. I can quickly search in Slack and say submit. Now, as soon as this happens, you will see the Atlan bot quickly give you a notification that resource was added, and it unfurls a rich metadata right here. So everybody asking the question knows that the knowledge is getting reused. The questions, once the question gets answered, it can be leveraged by other people also in the org. So if I just jump to this link again, and now you will see the Slack icon on your right sidebar. If I click this, you have all the threads that are available, which you want to capture right here, similarly on your Slack, on your Atlan profile. So technical metadata, tribal knowledge, operational metadata. We brought in messages, we brought in URLs. But even after that, there is something pending, which is a lot of data teams have context about their data. They know what patterns their data exist, and they want to do things and automate few things, right? So if you go to Atlan's governance section, we have a concept of playbooks. Now we've set up some sample playbooks for the sake of demo. And it's a very rudimentary playbook that we've set up to make it easy for everybody to understand. You can set up your rule. So let's say, hey, I have an asset type column. And if the title contains, maybe let's say username, it quickly gives me saying that, hey, there are 5 assets which contain username. This seems right to me. I'll do a quick review. And I'll say, okay, for these classifications, let's just attach finance and PII to them, because I know for all usernames, irrespective of where those exist, I can look at that. Or maybe there is a certain schema. You have like maybe a customer schema, mart schema, and you want to attach some metadata across these assets. And you want to automate that so that whenever even a new table comes up, those are by default attached on those assets. So automation on day one, once your playbook is set up, you can sleep in peace that your assets based on your rules are getting tagged with the right metadata and right rules and logics are in place. So like we are really excited about this, to roll this out for a bunch of our customers. And obviously you can run this, schedule this. If you want to run this on a regular basis, you can do all of those on Atlan. So I'm going to go back and we'll do a quick recap and we'll get back to the second phase of the demo. So we looked at DIY setup via metadata marketplace, how metadata is moving left. People can bring in programmatic metadata via DBT YAMLs. We looked at capturing tribal knowledge by collaborative first spreadsheets like Google Sheets. We looked at capturing profiling metadata. We looked at capturing documents, URLs from your browsers. We looked at how do you capture tons of conversations that are happening to make them reusable, reshareable. And we looked at automation via playbooks. Now, let's go to the second part of this demo. I can see a bunch of conversations happening in Slack. We'll come back to the end in case time permits. Hopefully, folks on the chat are able to answer some of them. We'll move to the next section, which is one of the metadata activation use case, data lineage. Now, for this, instead of me moving to the Atlan workspace, let's go to a BI. So this is a sample Tableau instance. We're seeing a dashboard. And the famous question that a lot of people build up, data folks build up via intuition, the number on this dashboard is wrong, right? And how do you answer that? Today, we saw the flow diagram. Today, it takes a lot of flows, a lot of back and forth between teams, Slack, conversations to get this right. But how do you get context right there where you are? Now, if you know the principle that I've been contextually talking about is we want to bring Atlan where data teams are, right? So even with Tableau, you will see on the bottom right, I don't know how many of you can see this on Zoom, Atlan icon. So what this means is that as soon as I open this Atlan icon, all the metadata that we brought in the first part of the demo is now available in Tableau in context for you, for the data consumer or the business users who's leveraging the Tableau dashboard. So you have the description, you have quick readme. They don't need to ask what this dashboard means. Rich readme, you can put in spreadsheets. You can know which owners are there. You want to reach out them on Slack. You don't need to find them. You can reach out to them in Slack. If there are groups, you can add your data team channels. You can look at whether these are verified or not. There are a ton of stale dashboards all data teams have. So you know whether you are on the right dashboard or not. And you know when was this last updated. Because if this is updated, you know that it's fresh. It's something you can leverage, right? But to answer this question, you need to know, okay, where does this data come from? So we switch to quickly the lineage right here. You see, okay, this comes from a bunch of data sources, Tableau data sources. But hey, we want to know more. So let's jump to a graph view. So now we are switching back to Atlan. We've done a handover. We have got context. We came back from Tableau. Now we're back to Atlan's interface. Now, how we set up Lineage is in the form of exploration. A good principle to keep in mind, if you see how engineers debug the code, they debug the code via breakpoints. They put different parts of the breakpoints and they go step by step into different breakpoints, understand. The Lineage consumption experience for us is also very similar. We want to give a great debugging exploration experience on Lineage. So let's get started. Let's start the exploration approach. So we see a dashboard. We see, hey, there's a data source that's coming in. So let me just expand this. Looks like this is coming from out of the data source. So now it suddenly starts connecting upstream. So we see there are three tables that it connects to. So there's fact orders table. There are some other tables which are coming from other schemas and databases, and all of them are feeding into this data source, right? But like, hey, this is verified. I can see there's an announcement as well. So if I click this, I can quickly see, hey, data is synced, and this is the frequency it gets synced on. But let's go beyond. As soon as we do that, you start seeing a DBT icon here, which means that these assets are actually getting materialized by DBT. So in fact, if I click any of them right now, you can see the model, you can see the actual query. And in fact, if you want to quickly debug and go back to the DBT Cloud Console, it has a URL, it switches you back, and you can come back to the context where you need. We have the last run status, so you know whether this was materialized or not, or this is stale. All the information available right here in your debugging, in your impact analysis, root cause analysis experience. But let's expand this maybe. So because I see a warning here, so let's expand this. I think this further comes from some other layer in DBT. And now this comes over from a Postgres table. And if I click some of them, you will start seeing this is where now 5 pops up. So Meera was talking about how with the 5 metadata API, now we can do cross-source lineage. We can see how your data has moved from a Postgres and how you've done ELT to your Snowflake warehouse. We can do Salesforce. If you're moving data from Salesforce to Snowflake, which is a common pattern that we see with a lot of teams, you can create that end-to-end lineage for that. But let's see. So let's see. I want to quickly see how my name is progressing. Not only at a table level, now you can see at the column level how your data is going across. So if I'm click name, from your analytics, from your application layer database to your staging layer, to your mart, to the final table, which is powering the BI dashboard, you have end-to-end column level lineage that is available right here. Now when I'm looking at this name, there is an interesting tag that I see here, which is the PII tag, which is Vikas was talking about a bunch of tags, access control, things like that. So maybe let's look at fact orders table. So if I look at this, the fact orders table, and let me look at a quick preview. Maybe I'm a data scientist and I want to get a quick sample. I want to look at a quick sample, but as a data admin, somebody as a producer, I don't want to open up PIIs for the data scientists. I just want them to evaluate this, whether it makes sense from the models. And if I go to the location name, you will see the name as masked. So as a data scientist or as a producer, you can be comfortable. You know that your PIs are not getting leaked, right? And because at Atlan, we know the relationships across your data stack, your modern data stack. If you are able to, which I was saying, if you're able to add PIIs, add name at your analytics layer, maybe the engineer who knows because they have the one who've created the schema, if they add it as the name at the Postgres layer, at Atlan, we can help you propagate across your modern data stack so that you know that if your PIs are set up, we will ensure those pass through across the data stack. So let's go back again. Let's do a quick recap, and then we'll be able to cover the last phase as well. So we looked at contextual embedded metadata, end-to-end lineage. We brought in operational metadata. You saw the approach around classification propagation. And once the tags are in, you can leverage data preview masking and ensure the data is secure, which is why we're super excited about the Snowflake tags, so that we can actually push some of these classifications back to Snowflake as well from an access control perspective. Okay, last one. which is metric exploration. I think Cameron already gave a good heads up on what the experience looks like. So it makes my life really easy, but we'll keep this way. Step one, let's do Command K. And let's ask the favorite question, which is, what does the revenue look like? And all you have is the revenue asset. So like I said, metrics is an Atlan native asset. As soon as you open up that, similarly, just like how you saw an asset profile for tables, you will get a metric profile for the metric. So not only you get the documentation, you get a quick preview, year-wise preview, you get to know the grains. You know that it's verified, so you can trust it. You can look at the dimensions, what orders they are. And Cameron also talk about Lineage. So if I go to Lineage, let me go to the metric Lineage. So you can see two kinds of views. You can look at an analytical engineer view, which is where does this metric come from a model perspective, so that you want to debug the model, change few things around. Or if you want to look at the physical layer, which table does this come from? Again, all the kinds of Lineage end-to-end upstream is available right here, even at a metric level. Now, but what if I looked at this preview and I want to do it month-wise or maybe year-wise? So let's go to maybe a quickly Insights tab, which is our data exploration experience. So as soon as, if you see the whole query experience is right here, select asterisks from, so let me open up the context so that we can build the right query. So since this is month, let me just quickly change to year. So get an year-wise cut for this metric. As soon as I have this, again, this query is your underlying Snowflake layer and brings the values right here. Now, if you want to quickly share it, maybe you're doing a board presentation or setting up a PowerPoint deck for any of your metrics, product metrics, company-wise metrics, all you need to do is go back to the share icon, share this. Let's try this. So maybe let's do revenue by year. And we're doing sharing on Slack. Let's go back to the same Slack channel. All I see is this metadata, the revenue by year is shared, but wait for it. You also have data available here in case these are product metrics you want to share, right available right here on Slack. Makes it easy. While your source of truth becomes your verified metric that you're creating DBT, but the collaboration happens across your data tools in Stack. Now, last but not the least, let's close with that. I know we're 2 minutes out. Let's go back to Google Sheets again. And this time, we will bring in some other experience where we will start querying the DBT metric. As soon as I click that, all the metrics that you see on Atlan, all the metrics that you verified on DBT, which is your semantic layer source of truth, you can click revenue. Again, bring it to your Google Sheets, collaborate, create your visualizations, create your charts, share it with your org, and start collaborating on data. So quick recap. And so Command K discovery, make it dead easy to find your metrics across your stack. Quick metric preview, exploration, in case you want to, you are curious and want to find more data, do more exploration. Save queries and share it on Slack. And last but not the least, bring it to Google Sheets so that you can create your charts, share with your colleagues.